Let's assume this H1-B registration thing, it's taking time and to go to the court, or it's, too late. So do you think it will still be implemented this year? Because I believe last year, I think before in 2018, I believe the registration process change was almost done during the period, but they started implementing it the next year because the system is not ready, because they have to come up with a new system for this registration based on the wage levels or whatever. So do you think still it will be done this year, even let's say if it's implemented?
So it's already implemented. That one is already implemented. It's already in the public register, and they've said that it will start from March 7th. The only saving grace we have is that the Biden administration has said they'll put a 60-day moratorium on all regulations that have not yet started being put into action. So, right, the notice and comment period is all over. It is a final regulation. It's there, but the Biden administration can always rescind it because it has not yet. The implementation has not yet started. It's starting from March 7th, 60 days. So let's wait and see what they do. But they have said that they will automatically extend by 60 days all pending regulations. So I hope that at least for this year's registration period, it won't be implemented.
Okay, got it. The new administration has released a fact sheet saying that they want a comprehensive, do a comprehensive immigration, most of which is being taken from the 2013 bill. It looks like that. Could you please elaborate, key points in that and how it's going to help the high-skilled immigrants, and what changes, if implemented, will be done, and how long it's going to take and all?
So, so this is a bill that President Biden has said he will present to the Congress on the first day. So, and we only have some outlines. We don't have the details of the bill. We will have that, I guess, once it's published. But the bill, remember, is actually quite different from the previous comprehensive immigration reform bill, because there was a lot of emphasis on restriction and security and border control, and a lot of restriction on H1-B in the comprehensive immigration reform bill. So there's not that much, it's not as restrictive. Actually, it's much more liberal than the comprehensive immigration reform bill that they tried to pass earlier. Basically here, earlier in that bill, it was like giving a pound of flesh, because they were giving amnesty. They tried to put in as much, the Republicans tried to put in as much restrictionist language as possible so that the bill could be passed. But remember, this bill is only being sent to the Congress. It's up to the Congress. They might modify it, they might make changes, they might decide even not to let it pass. But for it to be passed, remember that it might be passed in the House because they have a complete majority. But in the Senate, they only have a simple majority, so they would need 10 more Republicans to pass this bill in the Senate as well. And that's, I think, the challenge. And when that happens, I think a lot of the Republicans will want other clauses to be put in here, because everybody wants something from the immigration reform bill. But as it stands, and based on the knowledge that we have and the fact sheet, the main purpose of the bill is to create a roadmap to citizenship, basically. So it's like an amnesty program, which Democrats have been trying to implement, and even some Republicans have been trying to implement for years, for decades, since the Life Act came in 2000, passed by Bill Clinton. Since then they've been trying to do another amnesty related act. And the reason they're doing this is to ensure that people who are out of status can get back into status and get out of the shadows and get some kind of formal status, so that they might live with security in the society, because now if you're illegal, you're scared to go to the hospital, you're scared to, in some states, you're scared to go to the police if there's some issue. Domestic violence goes unreported. They are often exploited, the illegal aliens, by their employers because they're not allowed to work. They can't pay taxes. So there's so much of tax revenue that is being lost because a lot of them are working and not paying taxes. And most importantly, you cannot deport the several million illegal immigrants that are in this country. So what do you do with them? There has to be a solution. It's important to secure the borders and not allow new people to come in and become illegal. But what do you do with the people that are already there? So that's why I think this program is inevitable almost, because there has to be some way of dealing with these millions of illegal aliens that are in the US. So the plan that they've come up with is that they will get a green card in 5 years, provided they meet. They'll be first given a temporary status whereby they can work and pay taxes. We don't know if they can travel. Most probably they can. Maybe they'll be given advance parole. And in those 5 years, if they pay taxes, they have a job, they don't have a criminal record, and they go through all these security checks and background checks, they will be able to get a green card after 5 years. And then in 3 years, citizenship, usually if it's employment based, after you get your green card, you have to wait for 5 years to become a citizen. Unless it's you get your green card through family, through, for example, marriage based, then you get it in 3 years. So here he's cutting short the period for citizenship. He's making it 3 years. So after you get your green card, after you get this temporary status, after 5 years, you get your green card if you meet the requirements, and after 3 years, you can apply for citizenship. So that's the most important element, I think, of this bill. Of course, he's providing a way for dreamers, people with TPS, immigrant farm workers to be immediately eligible for a green card. So dreamers don't have to wait for 5 years. They will be able to file a green card immediately, as long as they meet the background checks and English language, etc., etc. One important key point for this to qualify is that you should have been in the country as of January 1, 2021. So new people, so this avoids the influx of, as Trump says, caravans, people trying to get into the country so that they can get legal status. That won't happen. So if you try to come into the country now and you become illegal, or you come in illegally, you don't get that benefit. You only get it if you were already in the country as of January 1, 2021. There are some exceptions for family unity if people were in the country on or after January 20th, 2017, and they were here for at least 3 years, and then they were deported and they have immediate family in the US, then I think they're carved out exceptions for those people. So even if they are not in the country, they can still get take the benefit of this amnesty. The other thing is they're focusing on keeping families together, not separating families from one another. And in order to do that, they are clearing the backlog of the family-based visas. So family-based immigrant petition, as you know, everything is backlogged, except for the immediate relatives where there's no backlog because there's no visa number availability required for the immediate family. Immediate family is basically parents, children, and spouses of US citizens. So other than that category, all the other categories are backlogged, except in this month and last month, we've seen there's been movement for spouses of permanent residents, etc. But in general, historically, they're very well behind. You have to wait for several years if you're a permanent resident to bring your spouse and etc. So what they're doing is recapturing the unused visa numbers from previous years. That's part of the bill, and that automatically eliminates the waiting time because they should be able to clear most of the backlog with that if they're able to do that. They're also increasing the per country visa cap. So they're increasing the number of visas. That's a proposal, and this is a better way of doing it rather than some criticize the previous way that the bill. There was a previous bill, right? High skilled workers bill, and the criticism was that they should actually increase the visa immigrant numbers instead of removing country caps. So that's what they're trying to do here. They're increasing the visa caps for family-based. And most importantly, there's a 3 to 10 year bar right now, which was instituted several years ago, which basically says that if you've been out of status, that means your I-94 is expired and you remain in the country for more than 6 months, then you're barred from coming into the country for a period of 3 years. And if you are out of status for more than a year, or 6 months to more than a year, then there's a 10-year bar against you. So they are removing that, and that has been a contentious law, right? Since its implementation. So, I'm not surprised that they're seeking to eliminate that 3 to 10 year bar period because it has kept families apart. That's the main reason why families have been kept apart, this 3 to 10 year bar. So unless they qualify for a waiver, they can, 10 years is a long time to be separated from your family. Also, they've included additional families, partnerships that can be, that can file for green cards, LGBTQ, etc. And also they've implemented some new protections for orphans, widows, children, and Filipino veterans who fought in World War II. Also, the bill allows immigrants with approved family sponsorship petitions to join families in the United States on a temporary basis. This is important, while their green cards become available. So what they're saying is, if you have to wait because there are backlogs with your visa numbers and that has not been taken care of even after, adding the visa numbers or recapturing unused visas, and you can come in on a temporary basis while you're waiting for your visa number to become available. This is great, actually. So this is to avoid family separation. So they come in on some kind of a temporary status, maybe a temporary green card status or a temporary work status, and then they can stay with their family and be in the United States, pay taxes, while they're waiting for their green card to be approved. So I think that's really great. The other one is, excuse me. The certain things that they've implemented to grow our economy. This is basically legal immigration. The bill clears employment-based visa backlogs. Same, I was talking about family visa backlogs. This is now employment-based visa backlogs. And they're saying that you can recapture, again, the unused visa numbers, and this way reduce the wait times and eliminates per country visa caps. That would be great if that passes. So it's much more comprehensive than the previous bill that they tried to pass, because they're talking about eliminating the per country visa caps and increasing the visas and recapturing unused visa numbers. So I think then this way no one will, earlier there was concern that if one country benefits, then another country will be backlogged. I think now they shouldn't have that concern because most countries will become current. And also it makes it easier for the graduates who've done their master's degree here, especially if it's in a STEM field, to stay in the United States, and also eliminates unnecessary hurdles for employment-based green cards. So just makes it easier overall. Also, the bill provides dependents of H1-B visa holders work authorization, which is great, right? So because the H4 EADs have been contentious, and as you know, there's a regulation that is pending, which will, if it is published, will revoke that. There is a lawsuit that is pending. So this finally has to be put to rest. and this can only be done via legislation, that's what they seek to do here. Another important, very, very important part is aging out problem that we have, right? So it's taking, if it takes 10, 15 years for anyone to get their green card, unless their children are born here, they will age out, because a child will age out unless they are under 21 years of age, which means that they will not be able to file a green card with their parents. And not only that, they will most probably become out of status because they will be no longer be dependents. So they'll have to find their own status, change to an F1, and then go through the entire process and wait another 20 years like their parents waited for the green card. So that's completely unfair. And so they're trying to prevent that aging out. And how they're going to do it, we don't know, but most probably they'll freeze the age, or they'll create some kind of a temporary 485 status. They'll allow them to file even before these numbers become available, and they'll create a new law under CSPA, which says that as long as you file, even if your dates are not current, even if you do it based on dates for filing, your age can still be frozen. Also, so the number of green cards, so they're saying increase number of green cards. So this will, they're saying it should be flexible. So depending on what the economy is, they will either retract the number of green cards available, or maybe increase the number of green cards. It should be flexible and it shouldn't be rigid, which makes sense because the situation is always not the same. Sometimes there is need for new fresh blood, and sometimes maybe there is need to close the gates a little bit. So DHS will be given the authority to decide, and I hope they use that authority responsibly, but they will be given the authority to decide the number of visas, green card numbers available in any given year. Also, now they also have to improve, obviously, the verification process for the H1. So they'll have to bring in some kind of additional security measures on the H1-B, and also prevent exploitation of H1-B employees. So as you know, because this H1-B process is really report their employers, even though they're not getting paid, because they are out of status and they're worried that DOL will take some action or USCIS will take action against them. So that is worrisome for them. So they're saying that such people will be given additional, they will be allowed to file for a U visa. So a U visa is a way of getting a green card if you file against a criminal complaint against somebody, and if you are willing to act as a witness in the case, that's a U visa. You get an automatic status, which is a U visa status. It's a non-immigrant status, but it gives you status. So they're going to extend. Usually these U visa status is given for domestic abuse, domestic violence cases, but they're going to extend that to perhaps H1B holders who have lost their